Don't sweat the small stuff. I love that phrase, but I hate trying to live it out, because to me, the small stuff is the stuff I can check off my list really quick and just get them done, get them done, get them done. Or sometimes the small stuff is the stuff that I really like. And the big stuff is the stuff that's really important, but I keep getting distracted by the small stuff. Ah! Anyway, I saw in an email from Stamping Bella, she's finally started emailing again. Had not been doing so for a while. A couple weeks ago I started getting them again, and I was very excited because I didn't know all the new stuff she had in the store. And I saw Helga the Hot Chick. Helga is so cute, look at her! And she comes with the sentiment, don't sweat the small stuff. So of course I had to have this one. It's Christine Grove. She's got a whole bunch of really fantastic stamps. Check them out. Link will be in the doobly-doo after you watch the video, of course. And you can go shopping as well. Let's get started coloring Helga. Let's start with Y02. So I'm going to put this in a place where I'm not going to get the shadows on there. I'll bring my lights close enough that you can see everything. I'm just going to put a base coat down on our little hot chick here. And you'll notice I'm not leaving white. You can leave white, but I like having a solid color in there, and a lot of people have been saying, boy, your images look so punchy compared to mine. I'm not trying to leave white on very many objects at all, because in reality, you're going to have very few objects that actually have white in them, except in a, oops, sorry about that, bare minimum highlight. So next I'm going to go into my darkest of the gold colors for my little chick first, because I just want to set a few of those dark areas. And of course you're going to go, that's a really light yellow. Oops, sorry, let me put my cap out there for you so you know what I'm using. Shadow, get out of there. Okay. But yes, this is going to be a really light chickie, so I don't want the colors to be really heavy and dark. So I'm going to have my light coming from this way, the same direction the fan's coming from, almost like she's lit by the fan. So I'm going to put some shadows out on her back side. And I'm just putting them in really loose because I'm going to be adding a lot more careful detail to add lots of little fur, etc. And I think I'll make her little legs this Y17 as well. Looks like I forgot a leg too. So I'll go back and put in a little more Y02 here on this leg, just so it's consistent. And then I'm going to take a color, it's a little lighter than the Y17, but darker than the Y04. And I'm just going to start blending. I'm going right over top of the color that I've already put down there. And I'm just softening. I'm going to drag the color from the Y17 up and across. And you notice it's already dulling the color that's on here. Just taking some of the punchy oranginess out of that Y17 color. But I'm just coloring right over top of it. And it's going to give me a really soft look here. So she's really soft now, but now I want to go back in and add more detail. So I'm going to grab a Y35, and you could go back in with your Y17 again. This is just a little bit lighter, same kind of color, but just not as bright. And I'm just going to make little tiny lines. I am barely touching the surface of the paper with this marker, just barely. And I'm going to even soften these lines out a little bit more, but I'm just adding more detail for her. so that she's not just a big blast of yellow on this front side. Just adding a little bit of detail. And then I'm going to take, before I soften that out, I'm going to take a little bit of, yes, purple, oh my gosh, Crazy Sandy and her complementary colors. This purple is the complement to yellow. And so it's going to add shadows that are more natural looking than the bright orangey color. So it's basically just dulling down some of those colors, and I'm just putting it in some of the darkest areas. To add a little more natural contrast. I don't want enough that she's going to start looking like she's brown or purple. Just enough so that she doesn't look like she's glowing. And now I've got my Y02 again, and I'm going to go over some of the areas that still feel really purple, and I'm going to soften out some of those lines that I put in there to give me a little softer look, because she's a fuzzy chick. You don't want to have too much harsh detail on a fuzzy chick. But just going right over top to soften them out, and I think she's about as done as she needs to be. Next, let's do her little pants and her little bathing suit, her little pants and her little top. And oh, I always forget this color, the colored caps. Put up there. YG11. Now the greens are always a challenge to find colors that work together. I don't find that I have some natural groupings that I use for my greens that go by the numbers, because sometimes you can just use the YG series and make it work. But this one, not so much, because there's not a really good YG dark color as far as I'm concerned. So I haven't found a combination that I really love. So this combination is YG05 with this. This is my medium tone. And I can add some stripes because she's got, I don't know if this is supposed to be stripes or if it's just her little bathing suit is stretched. I'm making it that it's a stretched bathing suit as opposed to stripes of color, because I think that would be too much detail for her. I don't think she needs quite that much. And now I want to go in with an even darker green to add some more depth to those shadows. So I'm going with a G07. This is not a YG. You'll notice. You don't have to stay with the same letters if you have a color combination that's going to work. So just adding this in the very, very darkest of areas. And now I'm going to go in one more time with my YG05. Oops, stay up there. And soften out some of that, because I don't want too harsh of stripes in her little outfit. Just want it to be all wrinkly like my bathing suit is. I really resonate with little Helga. Helga the Hot Chick. Alright, so there's her bathing suit, and I just realized too that I forgot her little flying feathers. I'm just going to give them a little dot of the Y13. Doesn't need much in there. Now the fan, I am going to make a purplish gray. So I'm going to start by laying in some purple, and it's going to be the BV series of purple because I want it to be sort of white-ish. So I'm going to put my shadows in just by flicking. Now you might want to go with the BV with 4 zeros if the 3 zeros scares you, because it's possible that this will be too much color for those who are not used to being really light with it and being really soft touch. And again, the light's coming from this way and above, so my shadows are at the bottom and on the left. Now you could go with just grays here as well. You don't even have to do the purplish. But I wanted to bring in a little bit of the purple that I brought in over here. Not that anyone will notice because they're not going to see the purple in the chick as purple. But at least that will give it a little bit of color instead of just being a big gray blob. And I forgot to pull out my gray marker, so I'm going to go get a C0 for softening out the edges of my BV, because that'll make it a little more on the gray side so that it's slightly more metallic. But it's a nice light color. So just coloring in the whole thing that way. Alright, and last but not least, oops, let's put a little bit of gray in her glasses. Last but not least is going to be the background skyish color. So I want to grab another, let's go with a B00. I'm going to put more color around the fan because I want the light color to be here as if the light is blowing onto her. That's going to emphasize the fact that this air is blowing. So I want a slightly darker color out here around the fan because that's what's going to make that other color look lighter. So I'm just going to throw in a little bit. This is the B00. Keep telling myself I'm going to get used to putting these caps out, and I don't seem to be getting used to that very well. And now I'm going to soften all of that out with the quadruple 0. And I'm just coloring over top of it and dragging. And scribbling along that edge where the two colors meet. Now you could go with the 3 zeros first and make that transition a little easier, a little smoother. But I use these colors all the time, so I'm pretty used to how to soften from one into another. I think I'm close to needing to re-ink this. If you've ever wondered when it's time to re-ink, it's when you're not getting enough color out of your markers, and I'm starting to get a slight bit of streaking. And I'm going to have to do some things to fix the edges here, which will be a good lesson anyway. Once I finish the background skyish area here, I'll show you how I'm going to fix that, because I don't want streaks out here like I'm currently getting. I'm going to soften that. But I have a plan. Alright, now I want to have some slightly different color here in her, in the center area. So I'm going to take some Y with 4 zeros And I'm just going to throw some real light color in here. And where is my RV with 4 zeros? So that there's yellow in the center, and then there's some RV. And then I'm going to take some BV, make it a little bit of a rainbow. BV on the outside, because that's going to rainbow it out toward that blue that I already have there. And now I've got my B with all the zeros. Go back in with that again and smooth out that color transition. So now you see that the area is starting to really look like that wind is blowing because of the color in it. So I'm going to add some ground for her. I'm going to add it with, this is the BV with 3 zeros. So I want more shadow here behind the fan and then more shadow right here, letting it drop off in between the two. Now the last thing is the fix. And on that outside edge, I don't really like how harsh, if you can even see that. It's a little more on the harsh side out here than I want it to be. So I'm going to take a rag, just a terry cloth rag, and I'm putting a few drops of my various ink colorless blender bottle. This is a big bottle, so it won't fit under the camera. And I'm just throwing a little bit on the edge of the rag. And now I'm just going to dab it around the edge of the image. Now it'll add a little bit of texture in there. So if you don't want texture, then you need to learn how to do your blending better than that. But it's going to soften it. As soon as this dries, it's going to look really awesome because it's going to soften all of that outside edge. Now I also had a spot here where I dropped a little bit of yellow. So I'm also going to put some on that because that will either soften it or disappear it entirely. And as soon as it's all dry, I can put it on a card. I think I need a little bit more at the very top. Because I can still see some harsh edge there that I want to soften. And I think that's done. My card design I kept really simple. It's just pattern papers from Fancy Pants from the Park Bench line. And I really wanted the focus to be on Helga and my time of coloring that I spent on her. So on the inside, I put the sentiment on some layers and I added some pattern paper because you can never have too much pattern paper on a card, right? So I would like to know in a comment in the doobly-doo down below, what is the small stuff that distracts you from the big stuff? And I don't need a lot of details, don't leave the personal stuff, yeah, whatever. But what is the stuff that sidetracks you when you really need to be focusing on the really big, important stuff? And if you don't have any small stuff that's distracting you, then tell me whether or not you are a bikini girl like Helga or a one-piecer like me. Thank you for liking down below, for subscribing, for sharing with all of your friends, and I will see you in next week's video. Thank you very much. Bye now.